Hello, everyone. I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsey Wilson University Office of Public Relations, and this is The View from the Hill, the podcast of Lindsey Wilson University. Every week during the academic year, The View from the Hill features conversations with some of the people who help create the dynamic living learning environment that serves the educational needs of every Lindsey Wilson student every day. In this 23rd podcast of the 2025-2026 school year, we will discuss the Lenten season with University Chaplain, the Reverend Tyler Brumfield, and Religion Professor, the Reverend Curt Lee. The Lenten season began on Wednesday, February 18th, with Ash Wednesday. At Lindsey Wilson, that day was marked with a service in the John B. Begley Chapel that included a terrific message from the Reverend Ryan Boatwright of Columbia United Methodist Church, then the traditional imposition of ashes on foreheads. The Reverend Tyler Brumfield was the person responsible for putting together that wonderful service, as he does throughout the school year at Lindsey Wilson with weekly chapel. Accompanying Tyler is the Reverend Curt Lee. He's an associate professor of religion at Lindsey Wilson. He's also dean of the university's School of Professional Studies, which includes Christian ministries, criminal justice, education, and nursing. Tyler also teaches in Lindsey Wilson's Christian Ministries program, and he oversees the university's Wesley Scholars program, which is currently in the process of selecting new scholars for the 2026-2027 school year. Tyler, let me start with you by asking, why is it important to take time during the school day on February 18th to mark Ash Wednesday on campus?
So it worked out kind of nice because our regular chapel services are on Wednesdays anyway. So regardless of whether it was Ash Wednesday or not, we would have been meeting to worship, which is a regular part of our rhythm here at Lindsey Wilson to offer students, staff, and faculty an opportunity to come and look up, literally, because you walk into our chapel, you will look up. It's just designed that way. But also to look up for encouragement, perhaps to even be challenged. So it worked out this way that last year, my first year here, I think Ash Wednesday fell during spring break. So this was actually my first Ash Wednesday with you all. And it's something that, for me, I actually didn't grow up celebrating the Lenten season. I didn't grow up in a church that observed it. It was something that when I went to seminary and joined a church in Louisville, that was my first time experiencing it. And for me, it gave me a bigger picture of the Easter season. Growing up, Easter, of course, you go to Walmart and you see candy and bunny rabbits and I suppose Easter egg hunts and then, oh, by the way, you have a special church service where everybody shows up. Everybody comes on Easter to make mom and grandma happy. Easter and Mother's Day are the two most well-populated days in church throughout the year. But it gave a sense of the bigger story that before you get to the resurrection of Jesus on Easter Sunday, you have to go through the cross. You have to go through a season of trial. And I think that Lent, it gave a bigger sense of the human condition, that we are in a world that is marred by sin, kind of with a big S, that we are, all of us in many ways, broken, and it recognize our need for God and our need for grace. Pastor Boatwright, who spoke this last Sunday, I thought he said it so well that when it comes to self-improvement or self-help, there's so many podcasts and books and all kinds of resources to self-help, but that the season's not about so much self-help or self-improvement, but rather surrender, to surrender to grace, surrender to the God who loves us and wants what's best for us. And so for me, that was a really good reminder that I too am broken. I'm a work in progress as much as anyone. And so take this time to recognize my need for God, the ways in which I still fall short of loving God and loving neighbor. For me, it's meaningful every year.
I want to return in a moment to why we mark Lent. But first of all, this, as you mentioned, your first Ash Wednesday at Lindsey Wilson. the Begley Chapel is just an ideal setting for an Ash Wednesday ceremony. It just invites you to be contemplative.
Yeah, that's what I love about the chapel. So if anybody listening out there has not seen it yet, the doors are always open. That was one of the stipulations when it was built, was it was always to be open. And I probably should do a quick plug that next year will be our 30th anniversary. So probably stay tuned for something next year, a commemorative service of some kind. But it's what I like about it. It is simple. That it's when you go in. I mean, it's a brick chapel. I mean, it's natural light. There's not a whole lot of pomp and circumstance in many ways. I mean, obviously, it takes your breath away, but it is intentionally by design contemplative, which my understanding, and Dwayne, you know a lot more about it than I do, since you were here when it was built. But it does lend itself to a very reflective atmosphere. Every now and then I'll walk in and I'll just find a student in there praying. And it's always a debate whether I should come alongside or just let them do their thing. But it's definitely at the heart of our campus, probably almost literally. And again, it continues to be a joy to serve in and through the chapel.
So let's talk a little bit more about Lent. You or Curt can answer this. Why do we have Lent, and why do Christians observe it? What's the purpose?
We were talking about this at the church where I speak each week, because I grew up and live in the same denomination that Tyler grew up in, and we don't celebrate Lent, and my people in my church don't. So we've talked about it last year and talked about it this year. A couple of things that I would like to emphasize. I think in some ways it's like Advent, that we are looking forward to Easter, just like those who celebrate Advent are looking forward to Christmas. Look forward to the candy. Look forward to the chocolate. Obviously, look forward to the celebration of what Jesus did. In my church, we talked about how, as Christians, we should celebrate the resurrection every day. It should always be there. But in practice, we all realize I didn't think about it like I should have this day or this week or this month. So that's one of it. That's the more positive. We're looking forward. One of the negatives is it's self-sacrifice. Now, Reverend Boatwright did a great job of giving us different options. It's not just giving up. It could be gaining a practice like a Bible study or being more intentional about prayer or other positive things. But in Lent, people give up something. In my denomination, we did not have that as a practice. People were willing to help each other, and that's part of sacrifice. If I have something and you need it, here, let me give this to you. And I think a lot of people have that desire. If we see someone in need, there's something within us. I would say it's the image of God that wants to help. But we would have a self-denial offering each year. And I remember that as a kid because it troubled me. We were one of those families where we never had quite enough money. And the idea of denying myself something, like, no, let me get what I want, and then I'll work on the denying myself. And for your listeners, feel free to judge me. But I was 7. But I'm much older than 7. I can still have that tendency. But part of Lent is giving up something. And I think the third thought is that when we fast, because fasting is a trend now that people are using to help in their life choices. But when we give up something, in the Christian ideal, we're supposed to take the time that we would be doing or speaking or listening or playing or whatever we're giving up, and devote that time and that energy to reflecting on God and spending time with God. We could all show up at Begley at the same time when we're giving up things, but it could happen anywhere. And that it's not just, well, I gave it up, I felt the pain of giving something up, but I'm accompanying that with, I'm spending time with God, reflecting on God, thinking about what He is doing at work in the universe.
You're listening to the Lindsey Wilson View from the Hill podcast. I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsey Wilson Office of Public Relations. I'm talking to the Reverend Tyler Brumfield. He's the university's chaplain, as well as to the Reverend Curt Lee. He's an associate professor of religion at Lindsey Wilson. He's also dean of the university's School of Professional Studies. And let me use this opportunity to plug the terrific work the Lindsey Wilson Ministries program does on social media. You can follow them on Instagram and also on YouTube, where they post video recordings of many of their services. To find that channel on YouTube, just go to YouTube and search for Lindsey Wilson Ministries. Now let's get back to my conversation with Tyler Brumfield and Curt Lee. How far back does the practice of observing Lent go? Because you don't read about it in the Bible where God said you must fast for 40 days or 40 days of preparation before Easter. That's not anywhere in the Bible. So how did it evolve? How did it come about?
Curt, you have the PhD.
Yes, but you have the Google. So
I have the Google.
Trump me.
Yeah, we looked it up because I was heard ancient church, and at least according to Google, so take it with a grain of salt, or Google knows everything. 4th century, so around the Council of Nicaea, at least. It goes back probably even further. It was when it comes to, for example, the Apostles' Creed, which that'd probably be a whole nother podcast, but with the basic beliefs, one of the earliest confessions of faith in the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, that it was this grassroots confession that was really part of teaching those who were preparing for baptism. Like, here's what the faith is about. And it was a way, really, there was a lot of those who were being baptized. It would usually happen around Easter. So I'd imagine somewhere, and again, I'm sure someone out there might correct me on this because I'm not an expert on church history, but it was, I'd imagine, kind of developed naturally through just this season of preparing for Easter and preparing for baptism, which means, of course, repentance of sins. So getting right with Jesus, whatever that might look like for you. Of course, learning the faith as well, and preparing to join the family of God, which is ultimately what baptism is all about, joining the household of faith.
You want to add something, Curt?
Just a little bit. Something you said, because people don't know this. You've got a wealth of knowledge on these issues as well that you're pretending not to let us know. But you tied it into the 40 days of Jesus being tempted in the desert, fasting, no food, with the wild animals. We just studied that in the Gospel of Mark. Mark emphasizes the wild animals. But I think thematically, fasting and going without and preparation is a big part of the Old Testament. My church, we've been looking at Leviticus, and the priests have to prepare. The people have to prepare. And you could go back, if I think this is justified, you could argue with me theologically. In some ways, it's tied to the Sabbath. Genesis 1 and 2. On the 7th day, God rested. A rest is a fast. It's a fast of working. So I think thematically, and that would tie into just life anywhere, taking time out. Our chaplain is very good at using that phrase. Not that I'm analyzing you, but you often say, thank you for taking time out in this week when we come to chapel, and for Mosaic and the other ministries. Taking time out for God.
And you all touched on this a little bit, but talk a little bit about how does Lent differ at a place like Lindsey Wilson, which has students of many faiths and denominations, as opposed to a place where everyone's a member of the same denomination. How does it differ both in campus ministry and then how you present that in the classroom when you talk about Lent in courses in Christian ministry?
Here at Lindsey Wilson, being in South Central Kentucky, I think it's fair to say we're in the Bible Belt, and probably most Bible Belt churches are not the Lenten season types. I don't mean that as a negative. It's just that they don't. That's just not an inherited tradition. A lot of people, when they hear of Lent, they think, isn't that a Catholic thing? And I used to say the same thing. And on one hand, yes, if you mean Catholic by what that word means, which is universal, that it's not tied to just the Roman Catholic Church, and of course with the Pope in Rome, but that there are other streams of the Christian faith, so Methodists, Presbyterians, Baptists, Lutherans, and probably even some non-denominational too. I mean, I know some who are, I think we live in times where some people are looking for roots, especially younger generations, that they're not looking to be entertained. They're not looking for all the light show, if you will, but they're looking for something to be rooted in, to identify with an ancient tradition. And so I think that Lent, since it does have since it goes back centuries, it has these historic roots that even though you might not have grown up with it like I didn't, it is a kind of a good time for students to rediscover it and realize, oh, you can practice this, and you don't have to. I mean, so here at Lindsay, we take the time to recognize it. You know, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to gather in chapel on Wednesday regardless. But just as it happened to fall on Ash Wednesday, and as most United Methodist churches tend to observe Lent, it felt appropriate. I mean, this is something we've done many, many years. And so for maybe there's one or two who experienced it for the first time. I know Hadley, who was leading worship, one of our Wesley scholars, that she was asking me questions before the service, like, what's Lent all about? And I kind of shared some of the things I'm sharing here. She's like, oh, okay, I can see the reason for that.
I can say that for my classes, this is based on studies. This is not something I came up with. The Christian faith is a faith of testimony. Like we're in a trial, we are all witnesses for who we believe in, how we believe we should practice our faith. And I try to teach my Christian beliefs classes like that, because we got believers, non-believers, questioners. In the believers, some are Christian, some are not. Among the Christians, big differences, theological differences can come up like that. And so I tell the students, I said, I feel like my job is to be the witness for Jesus and for Christianity as I understand it, pass on the knowledge that has been handed to me. But you have to make up your own mind, and you have to decide what you think about this. One of the last assignments in my class that I use, I got from Terry Swan, Lindsay legend, and it's called a credo, a personal belief statement. And I tell the students, that's where you can straighten me out. All the stuff that we've been covering, tell me what you think. And it's okay if you hate me or what I'm saying. This will be your outlet. And I just say, you're the jury. I got that from Paul Ricoeur, French Christian from the last century. And when I read it and thought about it, I said, well, that's how God set the universe up. God could make us worship him. He's all powerful. He could just say, I'm going to make 8 billion people and you must serve me like robots. But I would rather win you over by risking free will. So I'm going to give you this opportunity. And he presents the truth. And we know every single day we're confronted with someone else and we're going, yeah, that doesn't seem like that's the truth. That person's not right. Wait a minute, am I right? Okay, where am I right on? What do we believe? For me, that's how it helps. The students tend to respond well. Maybe some of them secretly hate me, and that's okay. But they tend to respond to the thing of, here's what I have to share with you. What are your thoughts?
So in Christian beliefs, I also have them do a credo paper. I think pretty much all of us who teach in the Christian beliefs class do. And so at the end of the semester, a lot of them, unfortunately, I can read some where I can tell they're just telling me what they think I want to hear. But actually, some of the most well-written papers have been those who actually identify with another faith in some cases. I had someone who was a Buddhist do a very good job of comparing Buddhist beliefs and Christian beliefs and what we share in common and how we really differ. Or in some cases, like I said, nuance. Or some differences. I had a student who is a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints, and so they don't affirm belief in the Trinity, which kind of is a different take than some historic. So I just wanted to kind of add that to know that here at Lindsay, again, like what Curt said, that we are not here to shove it down your throat. It's like, yes, we have our convictions and our roots, and we aren't shy about those, but we do invite students of all faiths or no faiths to at least know what it is they believe in or what they don't believe in, and to be able to articulate it. And sometimes even some students, one or two who I'll ask them at the beginning of the semester, like, what is your goal for this class? And I said, and be honest. And they'll be like, I just want to pass the class and move on. But I had one student who probably agnostic, so not sure, jury's out on whether there's a God or not. But he really engaged the material, and he took it seriously. And for me, that is something I really appreciate about our students, to come with an open heart and an open mind, and to at least be able to articulate. And that's part of our mission here at Lindsay, is that every student every day will learn, grow, feel like a real human being. And so to at least be able to have a little better understanding of the world and the faith, it just continues to be part of our mission here.
That's Tyler Brumfield. He's Lindsay Wilson's chaplain. You also heard from Curt Lee. He's an associate professor of religion at Lindsay Wilson and dean of the School of Professional Studies. And that's going to do it for this 23rd edition of View from the Hill for the 2025-2026 school year. You can tell us what you like or what you don't like about this podcast by firing off an email to us at news@lindsay.edu. Be sure to put podcast in the subject line. Also, be sure to encourage your friends, coworkers, family members, and associates and neighbors to subscribe to View from the Hill. They can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and on the university's YouTube channel. View from the Hill is produced by Shelby Burton. She's Lindsay Wilson's Assistant Director of Public Relations and Media Producer. And until our next time, I'm Dwayne Bonifer in the Lindsay Wilson University Office of Public Relations. Thanks so much for listening. So long, everybody, and have a nice day.